Hey y'all, welcome back to Sincere Practice. As you can tell, my background is a little different today. I'm actually in my office, but today's episode is about what it means to be an eldest daughter, specifically the oldest daughter in an Asian immigrant family. Today, I want to explore the intersection of culture, expectations, personal and mental health. I just want to share a context of I first heard of this term from Linda Yoon and Sujin Lee from Yellow Chair Collective. I used to work there, and part of the work that I've been doing these last couple of weeks has been trying to understand for myself what it means to be an eldest daughter from a clinical therapist perspective. And so much of what I've learned is knowing that you knew how to fill out the forms, translate the emails, calm parents down, help your siblings. You knew how to get good grades, and somehow you learn not to need too much. And so what happens when being responsible becomes your whole identity? And I just want to name that tension today, that usually having a lot of responsibility comes with a lot of personal expectation. It comes with survival strategy, having a family job, and having that be an identity. And some of the common signs of carrying that emotional burden or having that emotional labor is feeling responsible for everyone's emotions, struggling to rest without guilt, needing to be good, impressive, or useful, fear of disappearing or disappointing your family, and the difficulty of asking for help. Sometimes you tend to feel like love has to be earned through performance, and burnout, anxiety, and resentment and emotional numbness can come from that. You don't even know how to take up space or whether or not you are allowed to take up space. And in immigrant households, the eldest daughter often becomes the cultural bridge. She may translate language, systems, emotions, expectations, and values between two worlds. And the world of her parents came from seems different from the world that she's growing up in. So she oftentimes has to be in the middle of that, or maybe that was you. In a personal anecdote, I just want to share a story. I am the oldest daughter in an immigrant family, and for a lot of the times, I felt like I had to achieve and be good all the time. I felt like I had to be responsible financially, not for my whole family, but I felt like I wasn't allowed to make a mistake. I wanted to make my parents proud, and it wasn't conscious knowing that I was the oldest. It was just out of a desire to please my parents, knowing that they worked really hard. I was praised for being mature, but more than that, I love the title of maturity. I want to go into this because the pressure to be a perfect daughter comes with a lot of invisible rules. Number one, don't make things harder for your parents. Number two, don't fail. Don't embarrass your family. Don't need too much. Don't be selfish. Be grateful. Set the example. And what that creates over time is this perfectionism, this desire for achievement, a desire for a template. How many of us as students wanted a template to know what a really good essay looks like? That's what it kind of feels like to be an eldest daughter, of feeling like there was already a template created for you and you don't have an opportunity to decide what that even is. And many eldest daughters are not just trying to succeed, they're trying to avoid shame, conflict, disappointment, or emotional collapse in a family system. And that leads us to a fear of failure. Following the need to be perfect all the time is a desire to go deeper than high standards. Rather than having high standards, I want you to ask this: what does failure mean to you? For some eldest daughters, failure just mean a bad grade, a breakup, a career change, or even disappointing someone. Sometimes failure is wasting your parents' sacrifice, losing approval, being seen as a selfish person, becoming unsafe, proving you were never enough, or letting the whole family down. The key line here is when failure feels like betrayal, perfection becomes a form of protection. Being perfect is one of the few things you could control when a family system is in chaos or people are in stress all the time. On top of trying to hold things together yourself, you may even be the cultural bridge, like we talked about before. There's the unique immigrant family layer. The eldest daughter may be expected to understand American systems while still honoring the traditional family values. She may be asked to be independent outside the home, but obedient inside the home. She may be encouraged to succeed but discouraged from having emotional needs, boundaries, or individual desires. She is asked to be modern enough to succeed, but traditional enough to not disrupt the family. How does this become a bad thing? Well, when you're under the shackles or the prison of someone else's expectations, sometimes responsibility can show up as a trauma response. Responsibility is not the problem. The problem is when responsibility becomes the only way you know how to be loved, safe, or valuable. You're not known as someone who is just valuable inherently as a human being. And some common survival patterns include people pleasing, overfunctioning, hyperindependence, emotional monitoring, difficulty receiving help, being over accommodating, chronic guilt, resentment followed by shame, needing control because uncertainty feels safe. Healthy coping gives you more freedom. And so there's a difference between healthy coping and trauma response. A trauma response keeps you trapped in an old role, even when your current life no longer requires it. And so sometimes we need to connect the pattern to symptoms. This could lead to anxiety, burnout, decision fatigue, relationship resentment, difficulty trusting other people, feeling emotionally alone, shame around rest, trouble knowing what you actually want. And so you can become so good at carrying everyone else that you lose success to your own desires. And so we need to stop calling family never disagreeing, suppressing your emotions, letting guilt make your decisions, being available 24/7, remaining the family therapist, or choosing a life that looks good but feels false. You don't need to live in that your whole life. Sometimes the most honest way to honor your family is to stop passing down the pain they had to survive, and we have to address the guilt directly. The guilt doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes guilt simply means you're doing something new. How do we break the cycle without burning the house down? Number one, we start with awareness. You ask yourself, where do I feel responsible for things that are not fully mine? Number two, where do I confuse love with self-abandonment? Number three, where do I say yes because I am afraid of the emotional consequences of saying no? Number four, where am I still trying to be the good daughter instead of the honest adult? That one's a key one. Where am I still trying to be a good daughter instead of an honest adult? In order to grow from what you go through, you have to be aware of it and take actions in order to change it. The second thing after awareness is practicing micro boundaries. An example of this is, hey, I can't talk right now, but can I call you tomorrow? I want to help you, but I need more time next time. Number three, I'm not able to take on that task this week, but can I do it next week? Can I have some time to think this over before I answer? Or I love you, but I'm not available for this conversation if we're yelling at each other. So micro boundaries matter because they train your nervous system to survive someone else's disappointment without abandoning yourself. And you can disappoint people without abandoning yourself. And so number three, use better boundary language. Instead of leading with accusation, lead with clarity. Something like, I need more rest so I can show up better. Make it about yourself rather than about the mistake of the other person. I'm trying to build a healthier relationship with you, and that means I need to be more honest. Number three, I'm not rejecting you. I'm trying to relate to you differently. And last example, I want to stay connected, but I can't keep doing it in a way that hurts me. And so part of communicating boundaries with clarity is being able to communicate what you want without accusing or attacking the person or making them seem less than. It's far easier on the ears when you make it about you rather than attacking the other person. And last tip, number four, is building a support outside the family system. So therapy, coaching, support groups, friends, faith community, or spaces where the eldest daughter does not have to always be the responsible one is healing. Healing often requires being in rooms where you're not useful, being in rooms where you're just allowed to be human. So, being the eldest daughter may have taught you strength, awareness, resilience, and care, but you're allowed to be more than the role you played in your family. You can honor your family without disappearing inside their expectations. You can love people without managing their emotions. You can be grateful for sacrifice without sacrificing yourself forever. And so, one reflection I want to leave you with is, where in your life are you still performing responsibly when what you actually need is honesty? If you're looking for therapy or coaching support, you can learn more at www.sincerepractice.com. See you next time.